If there was one game series that it was demanded that I play, it was the Strike series on the Genesis and SNES, which consists of Desert, Jungle, and Urban Strike. My boss has been hounding me for months, possibly even over a year to play these. So I finally did, and I can say that these games are fun, yet incredibly difficult. Well, either that or I just suck at them. Either or. Each game has its own story, but gameplay is all identical, with minor changes. Let me start with the story though. For both Desert and Jungle Strike, you're tasked with taking down a criminal dictator that has possession of nuclear weapons. In Urban Strike, you would actually start in a jungle, looking for a plastic surgeon that is hiding, that has information on a guy who is essentially a guy who aspires to be a president guy in any way possible. At least, that's what I got out of it. So, once you start up each game, you get several options, mainly for controls, choosing a co-pilot, or entering a password to skip to a later mission. Not all co-pilots are created equal. Some of them are balanced, some have better winching skills, and others are better at shooting the balls off of a gnat at 500 yards. Now, have I seen a difference? Well, not really, since I didn't get far enough in any of the games to really even unlock the better ones. But I'm sure there's probably a noticeable difference or two in each if you look hard enough. There's not really much else to talk about other than the gameplay itself, so let's move on to that. After you do choose your co-pilot and mission, you get a small cutscene detailing the story and the current objectives. Don't worry if you have a short-term memory, because you can open up the map during the game at any time to view your objectives along with the possible locations of each. But before I elaborate on the map, I'm going to talk about the controls, combat, and general chaos you can cause. In each level, you control the helicopter using what is now known as tank controls. Up moves you forward, down backwards, and left and right rotates your vehicle in the appropriate direction. If it's nothing you've ever seen before, it will take a bit of practice, but once you learn the mechanics, it is actually really simple. In addition, each of the buttons of the controller maps to a different attack. A is your high-powered Hydra rockets, B is your generic missiles, and C is your pea shooter, which you'll be using a lot to take down the weaker targets. You do need to keep in mind that you have a finite amount of ammo of all types. If you start running low, or out for that matter, you can be on the lookout for ammo pickups that are scattered across the map. There's also a fuel gauge that you have to worry about. If you run out of gas, your chopper crashes and you lose a life. And yes, there are fuel barrels that can be picked up. And that's not all. You do have to worry about the hull of your chopper, as it won't be able to take an unlimited amount of damage, of course. And although there are some armor pickups, these are somewhat rare. Instead, the easiest way to stay alive, other than just not getting hit, which is way easier said than done, is to find random soldiers, civilians, and other people that need to be rescued, picking them up, and dropping them off at the base. By doing so, you get your chopper repaired by a small amount, which I think is about 150 points. It may not seem like much, but believe me, every little bit is going to be needed, because, as I said, this game is not simple. So, why can't I get past the first level of each game, other than Urban Strike, where I could complete the first mission but then got my ass handed to me in the second? Well, probably the biggest reason that there's no way you can strafe around enemies to avoid their fire. This sucks. A lot. This lagged feature is probably my biggest complaint with the game. Supposedly, you can press A to avoid heavier shots, but I've never been able to make this work. In addition, remember that pressing A also fires your Hydra missiles, which are your most powerful weapon, and therefore the shot you have the least amount of. So, every time you try to use this half-assed dodge maneuver that doesn't work, you fire off a precious rocket. But let's say you have the 6-button controller available. It doesn't matter. There's still no strafing, at least not one that I could see. Problem numero dos. Many of the enemies take way too many bullets. Even the foot soldiers can seem to take multiple gunshots before going splat. Vehicles driving around, like vans and jeeps, can take multiple missiles before going boom. Is that necessary? This is even more infuriating when you're shooting at a stationary target that's firing surface-to-air missiles that can knock down your aircraft in 2 or 3 direct hits. Plus, it can take multiple missile shots. So, unless you have a Hydra and can sneak up on it before the turret turns and puts a line of sight on you, you're pretty much SOL. That's shit out of luck for those who don't know. Problem 3, and this is more in combination of the previous 2 problems. It's difficult to actually hit anything, unless you don't mind sacrificing a few lives for the cause. You can't strafe, so dodging enemy fire is nearly impossible. Enemies take way too many bullets. So how the hell are you supposed to actually kill things reliably and safely? Simple. I don't think you can. Let's take these stealth subs in the first mission of Urban Strike. They do a hell of a lot of damage, so much that the game actually warns you that you're in the danger zone. And no, I'm not playing the song. So what are you supposed to do? Well, I did wide loops around the target, wasting more ammo than was actually hitting, which sucks when you have to keep making pit stops to rearm your weapons. So you have to fly around, normally to the back of the target, and while it's realigning itself, you fire a few shots. Then when it's getting close to firing at you, you stop, spin around to the other side, and fire some more. Repeat. If that works for you, awesome. But after a while, I'd still get destroyed because fuck evasion. No one needs that shit. Problem 4, which is actually the most minor one, and the classification of it being a problem is debatable, but even so, I must mention it. There is no HUD on the screen. Nothing. The only things you'll get are warnings when your armor or fuel start getting low, when you complete an objective, or when you're in a danger zone. Again, not playing the song. The way around this is that you can use the map screen to orient yourself and check your stats. Here's how it works. You press start to access this map. You'll see 3 buttons on the bottom of the screen. A is your overall map, B shows detailed specifics on each objective, as well as pickups. C shows general mission stats. You'll probably be using A the most because it gives you the location of many of the objectives. You can just press left and right to cycle through the desired objectives or power-ups. It's a very simple system to use. But even so, it would have been nice to have had an optional HUD that I could view, so I didn't have to enter this screen so often, because I felt like the game consisted of 10 seconds of flying and 10 seconds of research. Speaking of power-ups, I never mentioned the winch. It's stupidly simple to use, and it'll be the easiest thing you do in the game. When you get close to an object that can be picked up, whether it be a power-up or POW, you'll see the winch lower. By grabbing a power-up, you'll be resupplied an appropriate stat. If it's a soldier or civilian, they'll just become cargo, of which you'll have limited space for. If your chopper fills up, you'll have to drop them off at the base to repair your armor and free up space. Keep in mind that if your chopper crashes, you don't lose your load. Wow, that sounds dirty. Also, you need to be careful what you're firing at. 2 main stray bullets hit your power-up, and they'll explode. You can also kill your own team and blow up the wrong buildings in the first mission of Jungle Strike. And if that happens, the mission will be considered a failure and you'll be told to abort the mission. Graphically, games aren't awful, but some portions of each map can be a bit sparse. The level I was able to play in Jungle Strike takes place in Washington, D.C., and it just looks too bland. It's just grass and an occasional building or vehicle to take out. Although it is funny to blow up hippie vans. Take that, you hippies! Yet, the first level of Urban Strike is a nice, lush jungle, and you do get that feeling to the stage. Sound-wise, there's very little in terms of music. You'll hear a tune on the title screen and during the mission briefing, but during each mission you have nothing but the motor of the chopper and the firepower. Overall, these are fun games, but I found them too challenging for my own good. I enjoyed them though, and that's all that matters. Maybe one day I'll be able to complete more than just the first mission of Urban Strike. But first I think I'm going to take a break before I break a controller in frustration. And being that each of the games are nearly identical in terms of gameplay, and only really change with missions and map layouts, I'm going to review them all as one entity for simplicity's sake. So, final score for Urban Strike, Jungle Strike, and Desert Strike? We're going to go with 7 out of 10 on this one. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.